Context Presentation 4 Historical Background of Caribbean Female Vampire Mythologies. By Aditi Chattery, Hannah Romanis, Julia Grant, and Micah Laundermeyer.
The Caribbean islands today represent a mixture of diverse cultures that came together during the colonial period. During the 18th and 19th centuries, the islands were owned by the British and the French, who brought with them millions of enslaved people from West Africa. The presence of these varied groups led to a syncretized society that has endured to this day. It is from this culture that the myths of the Loogaroo and the Soucouyant emerged. The word Loogaroo comes from Loogaroo, which is French for werewolf. The Loogaroo, however, is not a werewolf, but a female vampire-like creature from the Caribbean. An old woman who made a pact with the devil, the Loogaroo can shed her skin to turn into a corpse candle, a flaming ball of blue light. In this form, the Loogaroo flies into people's houses and takes their blood. She gives some of this blood to the devil and keeps the rest for herself to power her evil magic. One can out a Loogaroo by putting up a pile of rice, which she will be compelled to count. To vanquish a Loogaroo, destroy her skin so she will be exposed and die.
A Soucouyant is a creature usually taking the form of a female vampire witch. She's in fact a demon who disguises herself as an old hag, but each night she sheds her skin and transforms into a flying fireball. She preys on all, taking their life essence and donning their skin. However, the Soucouyant prefers children as a primary victim. To slow down a Soucouyant, throw some salt or rice on the floor. She'll be compelled to count each grain, and if she doesn't finish counting before dawn, she'll die. However, to really kill one, you must find her skin and salt it. The Loogaroo and Soucouyant are strikingly similar creatures, both appearing as old women, sucking the blood and wearing the skin of humans, and transforming into an airborne fireball. However, the key differences between the two are that the Loogaroo is technically a human who has a pact with the devil in exchange for powers, and the Soucouyant is a creation of the devil sent to do his bidding. The Soucouyant also prefers to prey on children in particular, while the Loogaroo will prey on anybody. As Europeans transported millions of slaves from Africa into the Caribbean, cultures began mixing. In the West African Akan culture, there was a Soucouyant-like creature called Abaifo, which also took the form of a fireball and preyed on unsuspecting children. However, in the Akan culture, this creature was not gender specific and therefore could be either male or female. The gendered interpretation of these creatures as specifically female only arose after enslavement. The Europeans portrayed these mythical women as dangerous and lascivious as a form of further enforcing their gender roles. Women were expected to be more submissive, and those who didn't comply with this role were seen as promiscuous. The vampiric woman in these myths represents the belief that bold women were less pure and more villainous. The tales were cautionary to women, warning them of what would happen to them if they were to disobey the men. The tales were also used as a way of assuaging grief and disease, often in children or infants with weak immune systems.
In the short story Greedy Choke Puppy, both the Loogaroo and Soucouyant are present. The Loogaroo serves as a harbinger for death and is thought to be a mix between the Trinidadian myth of a donkey and the French myth of a werewolf. In the story, it appears to the grandmother to signify that someone soon will die. The Soucouyant is even more prevalent, with the story switching between a third-person narrative of the grandmother and granddaughter Jackie, and a first-person account from the point of view of the Soucouyant. In the story, the Soucouyant is a woman who sheds her skin and turns into a fiery ball and sucks the lifeblood or breath out of newborn babies in a chance to stay young. In typical mythology, the Soucouyant is portrayed as an old woman, but in Greedy Choke Puppy, the Soucouyant is portrayed as women at many different ages in life. In the story, transforming into a Soucouyant is seen as being young and free, but as the women age, they are supposed to settle down and put that life behind them. This speaks to the gender roles that society places on women in modern-day culture.
Considering everything we have read and know about Greedy Choke Puppy, what do you think is the significance of the title, Greedy Choke Puppy, and how do you think it relates to the Caribbean myths of the Soucouyant? What does the imagery of the Soucouyant in her true form suggest about the expectations of women in post-colonial Caribbean society? And what does the text imply are the consequences of a woman who pursues her desires?